Abdullah and his wife Bushra have just come back from a beautiful weekend away without the kids at the Lake District. Bushra keeps complaining about their marriage and it's really affecting Abdullah's ability to focus on work and other areas of his life. Truth be told, he spends most his day thinking about the marriage because Bushra keeps picking fights with him about, well, everything. So Abdullah is hoping the weekend away will lift his wife Bushra's spirits so that he can focus less on the marriage and more on other things. The next morning, Abdullah quickly downs his breakfast, pecks his wife Bushra on the cheek and heads out to work, mind focused on a big project his manager recently gave him. Not even 2 hours pass and his wife Bushra messages him, "I don't think we're meant to be together." "I don't think we're meant to be together," Abdullah screams in his mind furiously. "We've just had a beautiful weekend away that I happen to spend a lot of money on, no less, and now you're throwing this curveball at me?" Abdullah can't focus on the project at hand anymore and steps out of the office to call his wife and find out what's going on. No answer. He calls again. No answer again. He calls a third, fourth and fifth time. Now Bushra is physically disconnecting his calls. Abdullah's heart is pounding, mind racing with feelings of fury, hopelessness and desperation all at once. Why does she keep having these mental breakdowns? Despite the shame he feels in involving a third person, Abdullah needs help, and he needs help now. He's sick and tired of these episodes his wife has and desperately does not want a divorce because he loves her. At the same time, he can't keep living like this either. He makes a call to none other than Simp Imam Saab. Simp Imam Saab tells Abdullah he needs to be nicer, more caring, should listen more to Bushra's feelings. It's all about open communication, he says. Something about this advice feels cookie cutter to Abdullah. He's tried all of that. If anything, Bushra seems to be getting worse. This story that you've just heard is the life story of so many men's marriages today, Muslim or not. And that is, you're with a woman, a wife. Maybe you have children with her, maybe you don't. And no matter what you do, you feel like you are constantly running from pillar to post and post to pillar to keep this woman happy. That no matter how hard you try or how many of the things she asks you to do that you actually fulfill, she always seems to have a mental breakdown. Almost like a dodgy car that you buy. And that car, no matter how many times you take it to the garage, a week later, something else breaks. You take it back to the garage. You spend more money on it again. It works for another week. A week later, something else breaks. You take it back to the garage. You get it fixed and spend more money on it again. A week later, something else breaks. On and on and on. Everyone's had this experience with cars. This experience is not exclusive though to just vehicles. Many men are in relationships, marriages like this. Let me tell you a story about myself. I once had a wife whom epitomized this example. And this particular wife of mine, she was actually very good to me whilst we were together. When I was physically with her, in her presence, for the most part, she was actually very good to me. She took care of me, she served me, she was submissive and respectful for the most part. We all have our shortcomings, but by and large, she was what you would say a good wife. But something interesting would happen. Whenever I was away from the home, I would get messages similar to the one that Abdullah got in that story. "I don't think we're meant to be together," or "I can't do this anymore," or fill in the blank. Now at that particular time, when I was receiving these messages, I had two wives, and these messages seemed to be strategically delivered to me when I was on my way to the other wife. Just as I had left and we had a beautiful week here with wife one, I'd leave the home, go to wife two, and all of a sudden, as I'm going to the home of wife two, which was in a whole other different city, I would receive a message like this and I would do exactly as Abdullah did. Most men are fixers. We don't like things to be broken. We like to fix stuff. And I didn't like the idea that my marriage was potentially on the rocks or breaking down. So I did the normal thing, the logical thing to do, you would have thought, which is start calling, find out what's going on, get to the bottom of the issue, resolve the matter so that I can move on with my weekend and enjoy my time with the other wife. And I would call, and I would call again, and I would call a third time, and a fourth and a fifth, until it got to the point where not only the wife was not answering, she would begin disconnecting the calls. What do you think happened to me throughout that weekend? Throughout that weekend, whilst I was now with the other wife, my mind, the real estate, the space in my head was so consumed with what the hell has gone wrong with the first wife that I couldn't actually focus or have any quality time with the second wife. I couldn't give her any quality attention. Little did I know that that was my first wife's plan all along. Do you know why? Because when I would go back to the first wife the following few days later, everything seemed to be fine. The moment has passed and there'd be some excuse of some sort, and I would buy it. Hook, line and sinker. Actually, I was just relieved. I didn't even care what the excuse or the reason was at that point. I was just relieved that we were back to normal, that everything was okay, and my stressful emotions could now rest and just be normal, bruv, not feel stressed out. I was just relieved. I was like, okay, alhamdulillah, I don't have to worry about this no more. I didn't even really care about the reason. And this cycle would repeat itself over and over and over and over. So there's a number of issues to point out here. First of all, why do women do this in the first place? If you're in a marriage like this right now, where your wife keeps having these breakdowns randomly, random breakdowns, and you don't understand why, let me explain to you. In woman world, any attention is good attention, even if it's negative. Women often pick fights with their men just because she's bored. You could be out and your wife will be at home thinking, right, I need to pick a fight with this man. I've had a boring day and I need some drama in my life. They're addicted to drama, first of all. Second of all, any attention is good attention, especially if she feels like your attention is not sufficiently focused on her. Now, there could be a number of reasons for this. Maybe you are not paying enough attention to your woman. A lot of the time, however, there are other issues at play here. There is some type of emotional deficiency in her heart, and she is using you to fill that void. And it's the very reason why you feel a bit repelled or pushed away from her in the first place. You can tell she's just a bit too needy, and you're getting the ick. So she plays these games to suck your attention back in again. And every time you pick up that phone and call and double call and triple call, or text and double text and triple text to find out what's going on, you are rewarding bad behavior. And I'm going to tell you what to do instead in a moment. But I need you to understand what's going on first. Secondly, every time you take her out and spend money on her, hoping, thinking, praying, wishing that money can make your problems go away, another phenomena takes place, which is called the sunk cost fallacy. That sunk cost fallacy is the more money or time you spend on something or someone, the more inclined you are towards keeping it, even if it's ruining your life. Think of anything that you have spent a lot of money on or a lot of time on to keep or maintain. You are so reluctant to let it go. Even if it's a car, in the first example I gave you, your car keeps breaking down. You spend more money on it than it cost you to buy. I had an AMG like this. I used to have a CLS 55 AMG many years ago. Beautiful car. But that bloody car kept on breaking down until at one point it got to the point where I had actually spent double the amount on fixing it, endless trips to the mechanic, double the amount on fixing it than it actually cost me to buy. And you know the funny thing is, here's the real kicker. I have a feeling that I liked that car more because I had spent so much on it. Think about that for a second. I liked that car more because of how much effort I had to put into maintaining it. Now take that psychological defect there and apply it to a woman. You can literally be tricked into liking a woman more just because she makes you spend more effort and energy on maintaining her and keeping her. This, my friend, is from the many tricks that women have up their sleeve that you are completely and blissfully unaware of. This is what they do. Be careful. It's called sunk cost fallacy. It's an actual psychological phenomenon whereby the more you spend on something or someone, the less inclined, the less you want to lose it. The more you want to keep it, even if it's bad for you. So every time Abdullah in our story takes his wife Bushra away, spends money on her, buys things for her, sunk cost fallacy comes into play, which is, I spent so much on this bitch, this bitch is staying here no matter what. I don't give a flying F word, bruv. Because I spent too much on this. I spent too much on her, way too much time. Khalas, she's staying, I don't care. Psychological defect. You need to reassess that, because maybe, just maybe, you two going your separate ways is the best thing for you. But before that, I'm going to give you a solution that you can use if you find yourself in this problem, because divorce is the last thing we want to consider. And that is, the next time your wife throws this curveball at you where you sense she's trying to pick a fight with you out of nowhere, or she's trying to steal the bandwidth and real estate in your mind with a problem. I can't do this anymore. She's trying to pick a fight with you. Why didn't you do this? How come you did that? We don't spend enough time, whatever the case may be. What I want you to do is very simple. Take your pen and paper out. And if you're enjoying this video, like the damn thing. What you do is, you say to her, nothing. You go silent. She's trying to sucker your mind and attention with this maneuver. You giving her that attention is exactly what she wants, even if it's bad attention. So what you do instead is nothing. You go silent. You hold up a mirror to her ridiculous, pathetic, childish behavior, and you show her that if she behaves like this, what she will get in return from you is nothing. Guess what? Eventually, you will train her into understanding that each time I pick a fight with my husband, he's going to ignore me. And that, my friend, is the worst punishment you could inflict upon her.